Make sure it doesn't switch over. Let me see if I can hear. Talk.
Testing, testing.
Month. But Reentry Month is significant for everyone, for our entire community, but it's also been women, we've kind of been left to the side a little bit. And we need to come forth to the center along with the men and stand next to them when we talk about reentry. We talk about reentry, we can talk about, there had to be a bill back in 2010 to talk about gender equity in juvenile for the young ladies. Because what was said, well, you don't have that many women, young ladies that are in the juvenile justice center that are being detained. So we don't have to have anything for you necessarily, because there's not that many of you. But what does it matter, whether there's 1, 2, or 3? And we should have equity. The law requires it, and we should demand it. When we talk about equity for women, we talk about the reentry center, which was 2016 was the first time it was introduced. 2018, introduced again. 2020, it passed, but Governor Hogan had to be overridden. His veto had to be overridden, and it was done. But it's been a while, still hasn't been built. No brick and mortars, none. Reentry is special for women. Women have unique needs that men don't have. And it needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to be resourced properly. So we're here today at the Public Defender's Office due to our public defender, Ms. Natasha Darty, to talk about how we can move the needle forward and where are we today when we talk about reentry efforts for young women, older women, women of any persuasion, women who are of any color, race, or ethnicity. What does reentry look like? And frankly, what should it look like? Which is why we have our illustrious panel here today. So I just want to give you a warm up so you know what's coming. Next, we are going to have the Care First team to talk about what Care First is doing in the community. Isn't this a beautiful building? I meant to say that. It's not a beautiful building.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shakia, Community Health and Social Impact Specialist for Care First Community Engagement. We want to welcome you to our Community Engagement Center. Just to let you know, Care First is invested in the community, and we want to make sure everyone has equal access to health. Some of the things that we're implementing in West Baltimore, we have workforce development, where we're offering 100 jobs to people who live in 21215, 16, and 17. Here at the Community Engagement Center, if you have Care First insurance, you can come here, get in-person customer support. If you're looking to purchase a plan, you can come here and get one-on-one interaction with a sales agent. Just want to let you all know, we offer free yoga, self-defense classes, line dancing now. You know, we enjoy a good old two-step, right? So we have line dancing, we have Pilates, we have a lot of home buying classes. Did I say self-defense? Yeah. You know, we all can use self-defense techniques, but we want to make sure we defend ourselves. A lot of women go walking around by themselves. How can you defend yourself? We also do a lot of different resource fairs. So I've been tasked to do resource fairs across the DMV. One of the things that's important to me is equity, equal access to care for everybody. So I know a lot of people say, well, Shakia, you work for an insurance company. Well, Care First has gave me the ability to offer free health screenings to the community. And this is through partnership. Just like I met at the Office of Public Defender Shanice, we're able to allow her to use the space to do just this tonight. I partner with several organizations in the community that offer free health screenings. I'm talking about blood pressure, A1C, glucose, cholesterol, things that we need to make sure we live a healthier life. So our next event is on May 7th. It's a Diabetes Prevention Expo. You can come on out, get free health screenings. Some of the things that's important to us as well is jobs. So I partner with JARC, Greater Baltimore Urban League. They're gonna offer free career training. So there's a lot of different things that they're offering: CNA, GNA, phlebotomy, pharmacy technician, welding. And they wanna offer these opportunities for people who are, for a second chance, for people who are just graduating from high school. Now, you know, with our youth, we have to protect them. You're just getting out of high school. Sometimes you don't want to go to college, right? Well, I always say it's either college or it's a trade. But that's some of the things that we're implementing in the community. We are invested, and we want to make sure that you all know that this center is available to you all at no cost to you, and you do not need our insurance. Now, how cool is that? I'm going to hand things back off. You all enjoy your night.
Thank you. Yes, give a round of applause because we appreciate Care First allowing us to use their facility. And when you're in the neighborhood, come on over. Now, next we have the wonderful public defender, Ms. Natasha Darty, the first Black female public defender in the state of Maryland.
Okay, people. I am so excited to be here this evening. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. We at the Office of the Public Defender are really part of the community, and we are proud to be here with you today. I would like anyone who is part of the OPD family to please raise your hands. Take a look around, all the hands that are here. We at OPD are here to engage in community conversation in defense of us here at Mondawmin Mall. Now, Mondawmin Mall is more than a landmark. It's a living chapter in Baltimore. It is a place of history, of resilience, of enterprise, and most importantly, of justice. It opened back, if you didn't know, in 1956, later closed and became enclosed in 1963, and it's believed to be the oldest enclosed mall in the country. So even before the Civil Rights Act became law, Mondawmin Mall welcomed Black families, entrepreneurs, community leaders, and it became one of the first malls in the nation to serve a predominantly Black community. So when we joined here today, it's not by accident, because Mondawmin Mall is a place where Black businesses thrived, where individuals such as Willie Adams, a pioneering Black businessman, held significant real estate. It's where Marion Wesley broke barriers in 1979, being one of the first Black women to manage a shopping center in the United States. So Mondawmin Mall is a place that is rooted in community, commerce, and courage. So today we gather here not just because of the mall's history, but because of its meaning. So today we're going to hold some important conversations entitled In Defense of Us, Starting Over, Reducing Barriers to Women's Reentry. We honor women who have all too often been overlooked in the broader dialogue when we talk about returning citizens. And we at the Office of the Public Defender are here to amplify the voices of the community. I want to take the opportunity to clear a misnomer. Often you hear that people say public defenders give voice to the voiceless. That is not what we do. The community has and always had a voice. Our role at the Office of the Public Defender is to amplify the voices of the community. So though we are here today to provide information to you, it is also an opportunity for you to share information, and I welcome it, and I ask that you share information with us. That's why at the beginning I asked my public defender family to raise their hands so you can speak to any of the individuals who raise their hands, or stop at the table at some point in the evening and share any thoughts you may have, because we are part of the community, and that is why we are here tonight, to amplify the voices of those that we serve. We think it's incredibly important that you bring your experiences to the center of all conversations, and that we talk openly about the pathways to justice, healing, and most importantly, opportunity. So again, we hold this event here at Mondawmin. It is intentional. It says that access to justice, to dignity, to new beginnings doesn't belong in some distant meeting room. It belongs right here in the heart of our communities, in a space where that has been long nurtured by Black families, by Black leadership, by self-determination. So we want to continue the work of transforming here together. I also want to make note that our power is not within the titles that we hold, but in the opportunity to engage in this way. especially with our community stakeholders, both public and private, our impacted persons, those whose lived experience really add richness and true life to what we are talking about and true meaning to us all. I want to say a heartfelt thank you to our partners, Care First, that really have created a very vibrant and light and living and a space where opportunities can really thrive. So I'd ask again that you give a round of applause to Care First. I also want to thank Project Encore, Life After Release, Maryland Justice Project, and the Time Organization, each that are here to help educate us on the why, but also the how we can come together to reduce barriers and allow more successful reentry for women. So this evening, please pay close attention to the voices that you hear, the experiences that you share, that are shared, and the work of our panelists, because they will bring varied and very learned perspectives and how we can develop solutions together that are much needed to our community. I wanted to say thank you to fellow leaders that are present in the room. My sister from the ACLU, I thought I saw her. She's here. Ah, she's right in front of me. I'm gonna say Miss Dana, because at this moment I forgot your last name. So, Dana Vicker-Shelley, thank you. And also Deputy Brooks from the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. Thank you both for being here. Again, important partners in the work that we do. I want to take a last moment to highlight when we talk about the power of coming together. In October of 2023, the Attorney General and I came together in a historic partnership. Historic for many reasons. Historic, he has as the first Black individual to serve as Attorney General, and I as the first Black individual to serve as public defender. But the other part of the historic is the Attorney General and the Public Defender's Office. Often we are on opposite sides arguing issue. We are adversaries by tradition, but we came together using our platform to elevate our communities in new and what I hope to be lasting ways. It was an intentional coming together, both of purpose and power. And now our purpose is defined by our respective roles as career public servants, but our power was essentially our shared vision and the bringing together of 40 diverse groups of individuals to tackle what I call the cancer that exists in Maryland, and that is the cancer of mass incarceration. So last month, March of 2025, we were able to launch the inaugural report of the Maryland Equitable Justice Collaborative, the MEJC, and that is essentially a path forward to beginning what we hope is dedicated to creating meaningful and lasting change in Maryland. You will see copies on our table outside. Please take a copy. It's a summary. You will have the opportunity to go to the link for the full report. But it really talks about 18 key ways that we say that is the start of the path forward to address the issues of mass incarceration. And we call it the tackling of the 71%. If you were not aware of the disgusting fact that exists in Maryland, that people of color make up 30% of the state's population, but when we're looking at the prison population, Black people make up 71%. So when you see tackling the 71%, those are the reasons why we came together, and we hope that we are able to make a difference. So please take a look at the summary, because in reality, we need your help. The Office of the Public Defender works in several ways, and I identify them in 3 important ways. We advocate both in the courtroom and outside the courtroom, and the Maryland Equitable Justice Collaborative is a way we advocate outside the courtroom. We legislate. We work with our members of the General Assembly to make sure that we are passing in the state of Maryland laws that are fair. And speaking of which, I just see Delegate Crutchfield. Delegate Crutchfield, if you can hear the sound of my voice, come on in. Uh-oh. Delegate Crutchfield, round of applause. a strong supporter. And I would say Delegate Crutchfield traveled all the way here from Montgomery County because these issues are important. Thank you, Delegate, for being here tonight. So again, you'll have a summary of the report. So I was saying that we advocate in the courtroom and outside, we legislate, but again, we also work to educate, but also to be educated. So again, welcome to the Office of the Public Defender's Community event in defense of us. Thank you for being here this evening. And with that, I'm gonna hand over the floor. Uh-oh, is there more? Yeah. Uh-oh, there's more. Before I hand over the floor, so there's more. Oh, a special shout out to our vendors. I don't have my glasses, so we're gonna hopefully do my best. All right, New Life Recovery Center, Parole and Probation, Sadie Masai, thank you. Turnaround Tuesday, Better Pathway Community Outreach, Pivot, DPSCS, the Well Foundation. One more time.
The Well Foundation.
The Well Foundation, thank you. We Empower Leadership, I love that. Maryland Justice Project, Lead for Life, Family Therapy Behavioral Services, Healthcare Access Maryland, Amara Legal Center, CPP. And if I missed anyone, we are thankful that you're here, but she just had me a sheet without my glasses, so mine. And now with that, I have the pleasure of handing over the floor to Marguerite Leno, District Public Defender for Baltimore City. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. And again, thank you all for being here tonight. I am going to get right into it for a while. We are all here to hear from our panelists, not to hear more from me. So I am going to starting over to the far right, my right, introduce you. Many of you probably already know the panelists up here, and you have a copy of their bio, but just a little brief introduction. We have Ms. Gwendolyn Levi. She's a community leader and a powerful voice. Yeah. Powerful voice for criminal justice reform. She's testified before the federal and state legislative bodies. She also serves on the Maryland Equitable Justice Collaboration and an active in so many organizations who are pivotal in the advocacy for formerly incarcerated people. Next to Ms. Levi, we have Ms. Charisse Kess. She's a licensed clinical social worker and CEO of Time Organization. Through her active partnerships and community engagement, Time Organization in Baltimore City alone has received and serviced over 170 referrals of system-involved people. That deserves a round of applause. We have Ms. Monica Cooper, who is a justice advocate. The founder of Maryland Justice Project. Her lived experience drives her passion for second chances, youth sports, and clean energy. Her motto, and I really love this, was, "We were born to be in service to others." So with that, I want to ask you, Ms. Monica, if you can share with us a success story that really highlights what effective reentry, support, and collaboration looks like.
If I had to highlight a success story, I would probably highlight myself. Have to lead by example, and our little girls are always watching. When they twerking, when they doing whatever they're doing, it's because they have seen somebody do it before. It's 2, 3, 5, or 12. So we really have to lead by example. Like, I have come a very long way, a T1217, and growing up in a socioeconomically challenged space in a field. It is so difficult, and I'm gonna take this emotional moment to embrace all y'all, because had I had this love, I would have been so much better off. To see that people really care and will love on girls. Little girls, they are the most vulnerable people in the whole world. So it really does my heart good. But I've gone on to do some great things, and I just want to show you an example. And my success story is simply in what you do. We can say a lot of things, but I can pack the room because I'm genuine. I love what I do, and I love us. I love people. I love human beings. And I'm gonna work and work until God calls me home. So I would say that's a success with anybody to get to a point in their life when they're willing to give it all and sacrifice it all for this man that he's trying to serve. So that's a success.
In your introduction, Gwen, I focused on your testimony before some state and federal legislative bodies. So if you could share with us if you are, or your take on some of the policies at the state or the local level or even the federal level that make re-entry more difficult for women.
I think the most barrier is the stigma that remains with you once you walk out the doors, either on the federal level or the state level. It's a stigma that your family, friends that you've had and friends that you've even gained inside still hold. It's a stigma of your, oh, she was there, she did that. You know, oh yeah, she's doing something now, but I know her when. You know, things like that, I believe is one of the main barriers. The other barrier is the lack of preparation for the new society that we have now. You know, we come out, oh yeah, we see TV inside. We have people like you all who come in. Thank goodness for the people who do come in and teach us and tell us what's really going on in our communities outside. Because it allows us to kind of like prepare our mindset, but it doesn't. It doesn't. We need, I feel, the main barrier for me would have been getting more of what we get on the outside inside. Getting more of these programs, more of this training, more of this advocacy, more of this love coming inside while we are in, so that we are prepared to come out. You know, who sends a person out without the ID? I've been in there for 16 years. I should have had my ID. I should have had a job. I should have had everything I needed before I walked out the door.
So for the benefit of those who really don't understand, you know, what that looks like, when you say you came out without your ID, can you talk to us more just about what it means to enter in, and then when you're coming out, why didn't you have your ID, or what barriers existed for something so simple that we all take for granted?
The lack of a program that allows me to get my ID inside. It's just simple as that. A lack of a program that initiated. You know, I sent for my ID, didn't come. Now, that's not as much of a barrier as it was when I came out, because we have programs like the one you see here today that do provide avenues for getting your ID. But the harm in that is that it took me about a month and a half to get to the motor vehicle, get my ID, get my insurance papers straightened out, make sure that I had services that I need, make sure that it just took a minute. You know, coming home, you want to spend time with your family, but you can't, because you got to get up in the morning and go down to the motor vehicle. Can't because you gotta get up and go to social service. Can't because like some of the women who are going home to their young kids, they now have to go and reclaim those kids. Right? They might have to go to court. You know, there are things that you can't even get a court bill without an ID. Right. So what, they're still showing their prison ID? That's what I had to do.
Yeah. And if either of you ladies wish to talk a little bit about, or a little bit more about just some of what we could do, or what kind of policies at the local and state level that would that really make it more difficult for reentry when our loved ones are returning home.
Take that if you ladies don't mind. So in addition to having professional experience, being a clinical social worker for 25 years and covering my grad, I also have lived experience. So my mother, unfortunately, was she struggled with substance addiction for majority of my life up until her death. And I'm gonna answer your question, but as a child, I know with my mother coming home, there was some barriers in terms of just feelings of shame and guilt on both sides. As the chief of staff and being in the forefront of vetting for clients, when a lot of the women coming home, and this is just in general terms because every case is different, there's a lot of shame and guilt that goes with the women, especially when it comes to reacclimating and rekindling relationships. And a lot of times it's in their mind, that's when the clinical counseling comes into play. But we also need to educate the community as well. There's a saying that I say in court when I testify about what we do for individuals going for modification under the Juvenile Restoration Act, and that is a sum of who we are is so much more than the worst thing we've ever done. So these women are dynamic. You know, they were a woman, but they are human. We're imperfect people. So a lot of the struggle is getting past the internal shame and guilt and also the stigma in the community, because society has these norms for women as if we are super women, when in fact we are people. And one thing we say at times is that everything meets a need. Nobody wants to wake up and say, I want to go to prison. Everything meets a need. And when you don't have those resources and the community that you spoke of, if you had this, then a lot of these things probably wouldn't have occurred. But getting back to your point, when it comes to just behavioral health support, there's very limited behavioral health support in the prison system. Some of the institutions may have social workers, but many times it's in a group and it's just to get those tangible case management tasks done. But the internal work is not done that way. So we believe that if individuals are able to get that clinical support while they're in prison to not only address maybe some adverse childhood experiences prior to coming in, but also the trauma that happens in prison, then they will come out much better prepared to reacclimate. And then have like a warm handoff from the services inside the institution to outside the institution. So I hope that answered your question a little bit.
You did, but one thing that you touched upon was as a child of an incarcerated person. If you could talk a little bit more about the importance, especially for women, for staying connected to their family and their children while they are in, and how that really impacts their success when they're coming or returning to the community.
That's a great question. So again, in my personal experience and professional, I can say that it's extremely important to continue that connection. One of the main motivating factors, and you guys know about motivational interviewing, for the women is their children and their family. If they can have that connection with their family, that drives their goals. It drives their self-initiation. It keeps them going, just knowing that that is at the end of the tunnel, just being able to have that connection with their seed and with their family. So it's extremely important, and it really hurts my heart, even in personal, all the red tape that you kind of have to go through to get visitation, and then sometimes get there, maybe not the visitation. That can make or break an individual. One thing that I like to do, because I like to keep boots on the ground when I can, is to do groups. And I did a grief and loss group about 2 years ago for the returning citizens. And the women were so engaged in that, because they understand that loss is not always a physical loss. it's a loss of a relationship. It's a loss of a connection with someone. And we had to do a lot of work in terms of the stages of grief and loss for them to get to a place where some of them even felt okay with even reaching out to their adult children because they felt so much shame. But to answer your question, it's extremely important to have that connection with family when the time is right and when the family is ready.
And Ms. Gwen, I see in your bio, you're a mom of 6, right? Yes. Can you talk a little bit about just, how you were able to keep those relationships and how that has been pivotal to your success?
But the most important thing was, I came from a loving family. I came from a family that fully supported me. It was like in my criminality, I kind of lived like a full life. On one side I was doing what I did, incarcerated with myself. The other side I was Model Cities representative, my community association president, those kind of things. So it was kind of living that dual life that allowed my family to not really know a lot of what went on. So they weren't impacted that much about violence. But getting inside and being inside and I think one of the first things I told my kids was that mama can't be there. And they weren't young kids, they were teenagers and grown. Mama was not, I'm not gonna be there. I'm not gonna be this Captain Saver person. There's another word we use. I caught myself, y'all. Anyway, but Mama's not gonna be that. And I expect that the things that we've learned as a family, you use them, and when I call home and you say such and such a thing is happening, you also tell me what you did to solve it, because I won't. So I took some of that burden off myself. I knew, and I'm not gonna be one of those women who was on the phone. Well, why didn't you put that man's shoes on her? Why didn't she have her hair this way? Why didn't she? No, I won't be able to do that. I'm gonna take this time to work on me so that I can be a better person and a different person for when I come out. So a lot of things, I didn't take the responsibility of home inside with me. I think that's one of the things that most women, it's hard to do, especially if you got younger kids. It's hard to do. So instead of cutting off like I did those responsibilities, some parents have to have those responsibilities. So what are they to do? Where are these parenting programs? I was in a federal institution. The lady who came home was named Alfreda. She started a program. That's what the program did. What women's children inside, what the children inside to see their mom. All the way to Hamburg, and she came from Baltimore. Those are the kind of connections that physical. Yeah, you can talk on the phone, you can send it out, you can do that, but
Not like seeing your babies.
nothing like seeing your babies. And for the most part, the visiting halls in the women's prison, come
Leave
on,
much to be desired.
We're just getting to the point where we have with play areas for our kids, those kind of things. So we're making progress. It's not to say all, but everything is going to be wrong. We're making progress, but to be sure, you can't take on the full responsibility of home inside. I think that you have to recognize where you are, what you're there for, and keep all the connections going. That's not to say you don't stay involved, you don't know what graduation is, you don't know the birthdays, you don't know. But for me to have to decide every morning what dress she's gonna wear, no, I'm not gonna do that, So because I had to work on me.
Absolutely.
I had to work on me. I knew I had to change.
Well, and one of the things that you just shared is that before going in, sometimes I think that there's a stigma or a perception that everybody who goes in did not have a successful life or was not a financially stable or, working in the community. And so, Miss, if you could just, Ms. Monica, if you could talk a little bit about when you're returning, how having a criminal record impacted your ability to achieve financial stability when you're coming back out, and just the barriers that exist, along with the stigmas that exist, where the assumption is that, you could not have been productive before going in, because if you were productive, this couldn't have happened to you.
Well, I will say that thank goodness things are getting better. But I had a heck of a time trying to get a job. I sat on Fulton Avenue, Fulton Pressman, my sister's house. And I just sit on the side of the bed and I just cried and I cried. And I said, God, you know I want to change. You know I want to do better. Why am I going through this? It was so painful. And I was earnest. Oh, boy, I put my little Goodwill clothes on. I got my secondhand clothes. I showed up and I was ready. And I was eager to be a taxpayer. I was eager to build up what I tore down. I was so eager. And it just used to just shake me to the core that these people did not see that I at least went to Anne Arundel Community College and started my college career to say, hey, if I get a bachelor's degree, then just maybe it would make me more marketable. Well, I came home, I bust my hump, GPA through the roof. I got a Presidential Wilson Scholarship to attend, got a full ride. And I shared this before, when I got to the University of Baltimore, the lady was like, I see you have a Presidential Wilson Scholarship. Girl, I perked up, I said, indeed I do. Because the way she looked at me, I was so happy. I said, yes, I do. Thank you. But anywho, that took a lot of hard work. I mean, when people would say, you home, man, what you want to do? I was like, study. You home, what you want to do? And that's the tug and that's the push and the pull. When people come home, those people are still waiting for you. Everybody that was shooting dope before you left, they're still out there. Some of them 65 years old and still haven't gotten it together. So those things that was ailing you, the relationship with your mother, she in the kitchen shooting dope, the lights out, that stuff is still waiting for you when you come home. So the push and pull is, how do I get out of this impoverished condition? So I had to struggle with some of those things. And I just persevered because I really wanted to change, but it was extremely hard. And some people don't always have the fortitude. Some people don't have the strength to make it through that. So they just go back to what they're doing because they can't see their way forward. So people like myself have to be examples. And some people, you got to pick them up at the door. You got to take them to time. You got to take them to their appointments. You got to take them to fill out for their food stamps. You got to take them to do this. Some folks are of the mindset that you should be able to do these things. You're 40 years old. You don't know how to turn this damn choice word, excuse me.
Okay. Girl, if I wasn't here, I'd be cursing up the storm. But I'm with you guys. So some people don't know how to turn this bad boy on. And it frustrates them and it makes them feel like, dang, they must think I'm stupid. They already coming with shame, embarrassment that I got high for 30 years of my life. And now I'm just trying to get a GED. You go to class, there's a daggone 18-year-old in there with you. You go to Baltimore City Community College and it's children. That's your children's age. So you gotta fight through all of that stuff. So it was very hard, but I'm telling you, I'm aiming to get some money. I'm aiming to go back to school and to continue to do what needs to be done, but it pains my heart to see the amount of people that are dying. When I say that we are losing generations of people, generations, now the 15-year-old gone, the 16-year-old gone. And as Ms. Gwen mentioned, his mama at MCIW, he's staying with his grandmother. He's staying with his aunt. So then he is struggling with his mother being incarcerated. So we really have to extend our thought and our mind and get rid of that white noise in the background, because even some of the judges that sentence women, male chauvinistic people, and they look at her to say, you're a mother. Why are you in there stealing? You should be home with your children.
So the mother is battling so many things. The judge that over sentenced her, she battling him because he feel like, you should be, no, I ain't gonna say that, but anyhow,
And you
I'll
know,
leave it at that.
you've made so many important points, but the undertone of what you're saying is how challenging it is for mental health and to stay sane and to get through it. And we've come farther in our society with mental health and really being open and acknowledging that, people struggle, we all struggle. But when it comes to those who are re-entering, our loved ones who are re-entering, they don't always get the same grace that we give to people who haven't made mistakes. So Ms. Charisse, as the CEO of Time Organization, can you just talk to us a little bit about mental health and how we can really, support our returning citizens with mental health and the impact that it has on being able to be successful with reentry?
Absolutely.
I apologize.
So those are very important questions. And I think since the pandemic, we've been more open and susceptible to looking at behavioral health as a part of health. We look at it holistically, we're holistic people, and behavioral health is a part of our health. One thing that I drive in the organization and in the community is that in order to get a person comfortable with unpacking things that may have hindered them or help contributed to them making negative choices, is things that have been learned over years, and some things are chemical imbalances. But when it comes to people trying to get through the stigma of behavioral health, a lot of times you have to meet their basic needs first, develop that rapport and that trust, and then introduce the clinical team. Historically, especially in Black communities, we have had negative experiences when it came to behavioral health. So at times, like, we have beauty and barber salons because we understand how important it is to have a safe space and how important looks are. You take care of the outside and then you work on the inside. We understand that if you are working in a marginalized community and the family needs food to eat, the last thing they want to talk about is coping skills. We understand that if you have a 16-year-old son that's not going to school, the last thing you want to talk about is, well, do you want to practice interviewing skills? So we understand the need for an entire team and meeting people where they are. There's not one fit-size behavioral health organization or intervention for everybody. But one thing that I do know, being a native of Baltimore City and being a clinician in Maryland, is that when you meet a need of an individual, a basic need, food, shelter, clothing, and care, those social determinant of health barriers, and they see that you mean your word, they're going to come back. They're going to come back, and then they're going to be open to talking about maybe this may be why I make these decisions, because I'm in a defense mechanism because of my past. I'm open to learning some new techniques. So my takeaway is everything is based on the individual, but meeting them where they are is a key. Showing them that they can trust you with your word, your fidelity, and meeting those basic needs. If a person does not have a place to live, they do not want to talk about anger management. I'm angry if I'm on the street. So help me to get shelter first, something to eat, a warm place to sleep, and then tomorrow we can talk about generational curses and my anger management. But right now I'm mad. So I hope that answers the question.
It does, thank you. And I'm just gonna take a moment. I'm gonna ask you if you ladies can just slide on down. We're gonna bring Ms. Kiana up to the table because this is a public defender event and we make sure everybody has a seat at our table. So Ms. Kiana is the mother of two. She is the founder of Life After Release, and she is a prison abolitionist. She is passionate about post-conviction justice and prosecutor accountability. Let's welcome Ms. Johnson to our discussion. And Kiana, I'm gonna throw you right on in, and I'm gonna ask you if you can share some of the biggest barriers that you face and that are faced by women immediately after release.
Oh, I heard a lot here that you stated. Housing, transportation, More importantly, childcare. 80% of women who go into incarceration are mothers. So that is immediate need. When you come home, you're not just trying to make it for yourself. Now you're making it for yourself and your children. And so those are the barriers that first come to my mind. And then we have to also talk about the mental health, right? What does that look like, and how do we support our women who are coming home with those needs? And those are the main ones.
Thank you. And so for any of our panelists, what advice would you give to women who are about to be released, who are getting ready to be released, and they're trying to get themselves in the right mindset for returning into the community? If you could say anything to them, what would you say to them? Sure, Ms. Glenn.
Start the day you go in.
Tell us what that means when you say start the day that you go in.
Preparing yourself to come back out. Most of us have enough time, more than 6 months, more than a year. Some of us get 10 years, 20 years, but we have the hope of getting out. And I think that one of the best things that we can do is prepare ourselves and allow people to see that we are ready to get out. And you do that by participating in what's available to you inside. You do that by, if you have a clinician that you can talk to, it might be a spiritual. Not even a spiritual person that you can go and talk. Just knowing, sitting down and taking the time to find your own story and say, God, what do I need? What's going to make a change, Lord? What I have to do, Lord? I don't want to go back and do the same thing, Lord. I got to find something else to do. And in order to do that, you have to do work. Yeah. And like Monica said, she was doing the work inside. You know, Tiana was inside. She did the work inside. You know, and most of them, some of the actors that are in here now, most of us started inside. We didn't wait until we came home. Right. To get these resources. The resources that were made available to us, some weren't. We dug deep. You know, we called home and had our sisters bring us paperwork, send us a letter, send me a book. You know, we read books, we did things. I was at the Annapolis. We were talking about the voting bill for incarcerated people. And one of our legislators said, why should we let you all vote? You might not even know who you voted for. You might just going to vote and vote. I said, sir, how did you know who you voted? Right. Someone came and told you read. I said, inside we do the same thing. We educate ourselves. We read. We have people come in from our churches, from our community associations, from the nonprofit. We ask them questions and we go back and we dialogue among ourselves. And we talk about what this person is doing in my community, what my community, our family. We are engaged. We don't live in a silo inside. We don't try to separate ourselves from what's going on outside. We don't shut ourselves down. So I think that the most important thing is to stay informed and start the process inside so that when you come out, you know.
Yep. Ms. Monica, you want to touch on that a little bit?
That's why I think I turned it off again. I guess if I had to give somebody any tips that's coming home, I would, probably say that 1, it's not going to be easy. 2, you have to be determined. And 3, you have to find your tribe. You have to find people who are like-minded and think like you, that's going to go to that NA meeting where they don't really feel like it. That person that understands that this stuff requires work. It requires actual work. You have to make yourself stay in the habit of getting up as if you was going to feed up, which is like about 5 a.m., get the damn waffles, especially on Saturdays. So you have to kind of keep that same mindset and you have to train yourself, because if you get home and after 30 days, you haven't really found a word, then you start waking up at 10 o'clock. Then the next thing you know, you're waking up at 11 o'clock. And next thing you know, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and you haven't awakened. So I would tell folks to just try to stay on that same regimen. The same thing that you are doing, because it's easy in a controlled environment not to use swear words because you get a write-up. But when you come home, don't be like me, curse like a sailor. But when you get home, you can do all these things. There's no liquor stores in there to challenge you. But when you go and get on that number 13 bus and try to go to see your parole agent, it's right there. So you have free will. So it's sometimes people, especially folks who kind of go in and out, they tend to do really well on the inside. They on all the groups, they all the therapeutic sessions, but that some kind of way does not translate to when you're out here in the free world. So I would just suggest that they could go to as many therapeutic groups as you can. Go to as many, because that's what I did. Whenever they opened that cell, I was trying to speak Spanish, I was playing the guitar, I was in a Catholic service, the Muslim service, I wanted to know what they were talking about, Jesus the Christ, whatever I could possibly learn. Because human beings make the decisions because of the information they have. And the best thing and the tip that I could do is figure out what triggers you. Figure out what caused you to make that, and that means take responsibility. I am in here because of what I did. It took me a long time not to blame my mother. I had to call her on the phone and we had to cry together. And I know I told her, you hurt me. I told her, she was like, what you hurt? I said, you gave away my dog, Rocky. We lived on Monroe Street. I swear to God, 1915 crossed on a pink pony. There used to be a little bar right there. Anywho, I told her that hurt me. And I learned that because I was in a therapeutic space. And people don't understand that grief and loss happens to children. And it don't have to be, I lost a grandmother, I lost a parent. That thing impacted me to the point I was in jail. Think about the damn dog. I walked around the corner knocking on people. You got my dog, is my dog in here? Because I was hurt. I was looking for my dog. I was going to Hollow Park Junior High School. I was about maybe 12 or 13 years old. But that thing really bothered me. So when you go back, and I would tell them, when you go back to try to figure out what it is that brought me to this cell, then you have a better chance at succeeding. So I would tell them, once I talk to the governor, get more money, we're gonna get more programming. And when we get more programming, take advantage of it. Because there are some things in there right now that some people are not taking advantage of. But that's where the community support comes from. Because prison is designed to keep people inside. That's what they built it for. To keep them, at least that's what I learned at University of Baltimore. That's one of the main reasons why they're there. They wasn't necessarily designed for rehabilitation. They weren't necessarily designed to figure out how do we stop this human being from coming back through the door. So as taxpayers and as family people, we have to insist. That's my good friend, Mr. Brooks, too. I love that guy. But we have to insist that the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, for our tax dollars, make it work. We don't want 2 social workers for 2,000 people. We don't want 1 psychiatrist for a whole slew of men. We want that thing to work. And when you are talking to somebody on the phone, if you know about the programs, you tell them, girl, did you go see the psychiatrist today? So it takes all of us. I've never looked at our carceral system as something that's just dependent on us. Because I had a great relationship with correctional staff. I didn't see them as my enemy. I didn't see them as the one who put me there. So I had a great relationship with correctional staff because all of us understood, you here for 8 hours, you go home, but we are in this thing together. Because it could have been your son that I hit upside the head. It could have been your mother that I would rob. So that person that's working 8 hours, understand that we all want safe communities. We all want the same sandtown that I grew up in when I could play basketball. We all want the same thing. So we got to figure out how to see each other as people who are moving towards the same goal, if you will.
Yeah, and thank you for that. So many of the answers and the stories that you all have shared really have centered around something that we don't like to talk much about, which is the trauma and the history of trauma that women, especially Black women, are expected to shoulder, show up, look good, and keep it moving. And so, you know, if we could just talk a little bit about the traumas and the domestic violence that we've experienced, the sexual abuse, and the effect that that has on the reentry process when you've been inside and you've been away from some of it, not all of it, and you're coming back into those communities. What would you all share with women who are reentering, how the best way to really kind of combat that and to rise above and be successful with that?
Go see Monica Cooper. Go see Kiana Johnson. I mean, and today, you know, I'm not gonna talk about the past, but today, there are ample programs in the city of Baltimore to deal with trauma. We just gotta make out the stigma.
Right.
The stigma
Talk about
that has been attached to getting clinical help. The stigma that has been attached to talking to a psychiatrist or a therapist in the Black community is shameful. What we do to ourselves, she crazy. There's nothing wrong with her, she's just crazy. No, she's not crazy, she's dealing with some stuff. You know, so I think it starts with our own community and making sure that even though, I guess maybe I can look around, I know maybe 8 programs, right? 8 programs that are right in this room right now that could help someone deal with their trauma. Do the people inside coming out know those 8 programs? Not necessarily. You know, so I think making awareness of what's available, making it available, making people aware, educating our communities, going and having listeners, letting them know when your child comes out, when your daughter comes out, when your mom comes out, there's a program. Take her to that program. Take her to Turnaround Tuesday. Take her to Relevant Justice Project. Right? They're there, and I think one of the most important things that we're lacking is taking that stigma away, but also making sure that we educate, and make our community aware of what's available in our.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Rice.
I just want to say really quickly that,
Take your time.
okay, no, I'll take my time and say it. Trauma-informed practices is something that Baltimore City is pushing because of the trauma that a lot of individuals face living in marginalized communities. And one of the trainings that I teach on trauma-informed care, I make the distinction between trauma-informed care and trauma-informed practices. We have a lot of organizations that they provide trauma-informed practices, but they do not provide trauma-informed care. And that's across the board. And a lot of times it's unintentional. Some providers don't understand that certain things are triggers and it may cause a re-traumatization. So I think not only should we educate the members of the community, but also the providers, including like Tom, the new staff members that are boots on the ground, that everything that happens in those treatment facilities or in these organizations can impact a client in a negative or positive way. For example, if you have an individual who has a traumatic issues with some sexual misconduct or abuse, and you connect them with a male provider without asking them their preference, that in itself could just block and add a filter to anything that therapist is telling that individual. And that initially just hinders the whole therapeutic process. So again, I think it's important to not only talk about what services are available in the community, but for the organization to take accountability for their practices that may be re-traumatizing, because studies show that if an individual is re-traumatized, they're less likely to ever get help again. There's something called organizational hurt, where individuals may not be treated correctly, and they may not ever get help, and their symptoms may exacerbate. So we need education across the board. But I wanted to say something really quickly about when individuals come into the community, females. I think it's important, and this is with my mother, to remember the why, because life gets hard. And if you remember that why, this is what we tell our clients in a lot of the mental health groups, when things get hard, you may have goals that may not go exactly the way you intended it to go. There may be hurdles, there may be organizational hurt, some people blaming the victim in organizations where you're trying to get benefits. But if you remember the why, you take one step in front of the other, you get up every day, you celebrate those wins. So I think that's very important, that motivation. A lot of times with women, it's our children and our family.
Thank you. And before we turn and take some questions from our audience, I just wanted to give each of you the opportunity, if you'd like, to just talk about what true reentry would look like, or what would that mean to you if you were shaping, as you all are, as you shape the reentry space. What does that look like?
I think that true reentry looks like collaboration. Give you an example. I think Hannibal is here. We have been working on getting a women's pre-release center back open for some time now. And I was able to go to the Attorney General's office some years ago. And even though the Attorney General's client is the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, they saw that this was something that should happen. So they collaborated with us, and they were able to help us push that, a little bit further along. The Department of OPD. OPD has figured out that not only are we in the business of defending people who can't afford a lawyer, but we are also in the business of making sure that these people don't return. So at Miss Shanice Anderson, they have a wonderful advocate that partners with people and organizations that when people come home, she plugs them into that space. There are some unlikely partnerships that could really help build this whole ecosystem of reentry. I think in Prince George's County, you have Aisha Brayboy. She's a prosecutor. Her job is to lock the people up and put them in there. But she also realized through her office that I think is called an ounce of flesh is worth a pound of cure. So if you spend a little bit on the front end, then my taxes won't be so high. If you spend a little bit on the front end, we actually spend less money. But that takes with, changing the mindset, but real collaboration. Not people that, you come to their office and they check you off and they get $1 million grant. And not 20 people in there got a daggone GED. But they were able to say, well, we provide GED. I just want to put that out there. And I just, it's gotta be more accountability, period. For anybody, you got a PRP service, you got a transitional house, you got this, you got that. Stop failing the people before I tell on you.
So we have collaboration, we have accountability. What else do we need? What else does true reentry mean?
I wanted to piggyback on what you said, collaboration to ensure that our reintegrating citizens, thank you, I think it's Mr. Pack says that, I believe, reintegrating citizens have what they need, because we should not work in silos. Not one organization or one community business has everything a client needs, a reintegrating citizen. So therefore, I think for us to know what's available and to work together like Tom does with the OPD reentry project, we're able to fill gaps that not one organization has. We're not meant to do life alone. So the more resources we have for those individuals to give them the tools they need, the less likely they will need to do anything to recidivate. So I think that's key. And I want to share, when we accept individuals into the program, we give an acceptance letter. And I asked from the inception of accepting them, please give us information on when the individual is being released. There has been too many times, one time is too many, where individuals are released and dropped off in the middle of the night with no phone, with no money, with nowhere to go. thank goodness, I put my personal cell number on the acceptance letters just to make sure if they can find somebody to call me, we can get them into one of our homes. And it's not to pat Tom on the back, it's just to give a realistic example of this is what it looks like. I think you said you don't come out with an ID, don't come out with anything, no money, you have one packet and that's it. It can be a setup if individuals do not have the tools in the community that they need.
So we got collaboration, we got community, what else do we need?
Reentry is not a cookie cutter operation. We have to realize that everybody's situation is unique and different, and understanding that nothing for us without us. I think we are starting to finally
Say that again. Say it
nothing
again.
for us without us. And I think that we're starting to finally understand what that looks like. And so understanding that it will take some investment to bring us into the fold, but that we need to be there. It's very important. I just got off a phone call with Sony and was talking about they're getting ready to do a release on something, and they had a video coming out, and I said, wait a second, y'all gotta come again, 'cause that's not gonna work. They was like, oh, we didn't think about it. Yeah, because you didn't talk to me first before you started creating the video. So let's go back to the drawing board because that's harmful. So that's the same thing with reentry. And while people really mean well, and they're like, I wanna do well, I wanna be a reentry. If you have not experienced this, has not been your walk, then maybe you should be having someone who is in the front. Support us because we need that support, but reentry is not a cookie cutter operation, and we have to continue to bring us to the table as well.
Again, I say, reentry, look at all these programs represented just in this one room right now. But it still starts with the person. And that motivation has to be there to not want to change, to do something different. And as I said before, it starts from inside. We formed a group. We formed a group of seniors because we were seniors inside, and the group was called Women of Wisdom, and they called us the Wild Girls. But guess what our motto was?
What was your motto?
We will not just survive this incarceration, we will thrive as a result of being here. And that's the kind of mindset you have to have. That incarceration is supposed to serve a purpose. You have to make it serve a purpose so that you can prepare yourself to come back out and even have enough intuition to know that I can go find a program. I can figure out how to get to social services. I can figure out how to, some people come home and they sit till they get frustrated from sitting in the house. Some people are intimidated by being out. They haven't adjusted to the outside. Just like you said, just got dropped off, no money, no nothing. So they're in the house, depending on a family member who's already mad at them because they was been gone away for the last 10 years. Right. So we got to start thinking of ways to make it a little more fluid coming out. We got a lot of stuff once we get out. But how do we get ourselves out to be ready? How do we get ourselves ready to come and participate in all the stuff that's
Thank you for that. So the preparation that is taking place on the inside, so that when you do come out, you can get that seat at the table to be able to build the community that we need. So I think that we're going to take some questions from the audience.
I want to say something about community really quickly, and that was Desmond Perry, I'm sorry, who says reintegrating citizens. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I am. If those graduates from town organization, if you feel comfortable standing up, if you would do so, I would really appreciate it. I don't make me have to call you out. So I talked about the why, and sometimes even as professionals, we need a why to keep going. These men are the why. These men show that second chances work. And that, again, the sum of who we are is so much more than the worst thing we've ever done. and they show how important and how impactful community is. These men come back, they mentor informally the clients that are still in the organization. They do public speaking, they help with jobs, they do just call me whenever you need me. When I tell you, this community is phenomenal. And I just say it's just an honor to be a part of your journey. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? We have one back here.
I don't have a question as much as I have a comment. I want to not only thank you all for putting on this panel today, but I just want to ask that as you share stories in the future, I think it's important to differentiate between whether you're at federal prison or the Women's Correctional Facility in Jessup. I think it's important to talk about not only what happened in the past, but what's happening now. So very quickly, most people in this room may not know that we have updated the MOUs with vital records, Social Security, NBA, to get those IDs and documents before people are coming out now. You probably don't know that we've also started an in-house, like an infomercial to educate the incarcerated individuals why you need identification when you get out. Don't say, oh, I'm good, I don't need it, or my mama got it, grandmama got a Social Security card. When you get out, first thing you say, I don't have ID, because you didn't take advantage of what was being provided for you to get it free of charge while you're inside. And especially now, the new Real ID. So we got to take advantage of what's available. I want to give a shout out, just like she gave out to me, Monica Cooper. She probably hasn't shared how much she has impacted what we're doing. She's on the Lived Experience Committee. That I called her after the Monica Cooper bill didn't pass, and I said to her, I said, you know, even though it didn't pass, we don't need a law to tell us what we should be doing already anyway. So I need you to work with me to create the programs for those who are in the Women's Detention Center before this pre-release center is even built, so that once those programs are already there, we just transfer them to this brick and mortar whenever it is built. I started my career at the women's prison in 1988. And I know specifically what the challenges are and what the needs are, and how the men's prison have always gotten more than the women have received. So there's always a special place in my heart for trying to get those programs and services to those women, but we have to educate them to want the programs, to want to participate, to want to take advantage of what we have to offer. The DPSCS of the past is just that, the past. The DPSCS, and that stands for Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, if you don't know the acronym, is different under the leadership of Secretary Scruggs and myself as the Assistant Secretary, Renard Brooks. And as long as I'm there, I'm going to continue to work on impactful ways that we can increase productivity, opportunity for women being released from the incarcerated system here in Maryland. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you.
So, hi, I'm Makia, and I actually work for Anne Arundel Community Action Agency, and I'm a part of Turnaround Thursdays and also Anne Arundel County Task Force, which is a great force. I feel like it is a great reputable force that maybe some other counties and the city should maybe consider, because it has an array of people and they actually work together and they bring other people in to actually understand. The panel, you guys are great. Mr. Brooks, I remember Mr. Brooks actually showed up at MCIW because the women had been writing. Him and another lady came, and everybody was, some people didn't, we got in trouble because we were like, there's a man on the compound who's helping us. And so, but they did a pop-up. So let me explain, because I'm a recently released incarcerated individual. And so when they do pop-ups, then everything is different. But when you show up and you schedule an appointment to show up, everybody is on lock. So there's nobody walking the compound, especially the ones that are crazy enough to actually walk up to you and say, save me, because I'm supposed to be gone 10 years ago and I'm still here. So those things are all things that are kind of like, so when I seen him, I had to remember, I was like, he was actually on the pre-release side, and him and another lady was there, and they were taking questions. And they were scared, the officers were scared, they were like, we can't tell him no, because he's from headquarters, but there were things that was like preventing certain people from actually going over there. And there's a lot of stuff, the new IDs, all of these things, if you have a life sentence, let me just break this down to you. If you have a life sentence, there's a lot of things that you are not entitled to. The Pivot program, if you have a life sentence, the Pivot program has been able their way into where the life sentencers work, which is the shops. They actually have jobs. If I can explain that those that are incarcerated, they wake up every morning, and if they have more than 3 years, they usually have a decent job. That means that they get up, they make flags, they make tags, they design this building, what have you, but they actually have a foundation. So when they leave, they actually have it, but the stuff is so old that they can't apply it when they get home. So it looks good when you do a tour, because you're actually seeing them working, and we're in uniform, and you should see everybody can hold, you can't, and if you say something, then the next day you're off the schedule. So those are things that we don't see, but those are things that we need to understand, even as far as the fact that if you have a life sentence, you don't get a reentry portion, because you go up for parole, you go through the whole process, and then you're released. So you never get over to the reentry portion where you get to meet Monica. They just started with the mental health. They have it where you can actually Skype now. But for a very long time, it's like you go to Patuxent. So that means I uproot everything that I've worked for and go to Patuxent, a small place where the women, it's only us in a small dorm, and the men, they rule the whole entire center. So there's a lot of stuff that it looks good on paper, but until you walk the walk and you see what people are actually experiencing. And when I say mental health, just one more thing, just to revisit the fact that when you look at the women that get 8505s, 8507s, and the men, they're asking for units.
I just wanted to say, first and foremost, to the panel, thank you all for your insight, your expertise. The question that I have is, how, as a provider, can we work not only with the individuals inside, but working more with our community? Because when women come home, they are always struggling for housing. And oftentimes women have to lie and say, I have a substance abuse in order to get this housing, or I have this to get this housing. Well, what if I'm a woman that does not have, and I don't fit in either one of those categories, right? And as the executive director of Pivot, I know, because in order for me to get my housing funded, I have to say, listen, I need money, not for a woman that has a substance abuse. It's 11 places for women with a substance abuse, right? Not for a woman that is checking that box of a diagnosis. But what are we doing as a community collaboratively for all of the women who do not fall in those categories, and they're coming back home and they have 6 kids, they have 5 kids, they have 4 kids. And so I am always gonna thank the people and the pioneers that came before me. And as we all continue to do this work, what can we do collaboratively to continue to figure out ways to really house women who are coming home?
I actually, and I'm pretty modest most of the time, but we just started a transitional house for women. It's a beautiful house, beautiful. And I think the women are going to do well because we set the bar extremely high, but it usually always boils down to funding and money. And what I do know is that it is better to have 5 organizations partner together and ask for $2 million than it is for one organization to ask for $2 million, because everybody have an expertise. There's some people that got the thing down to a science with IT training. So rather than one organization trying to provide all these services, one organization can say, I can house them. Another organization would say, well, I can train them to get their GEDs. Another organization can say, well, we really got the mental health piece down pat. So the collaboration come with really good partners and partners that understand that this is my role. I had worked on some legislation that OSI had funded. OSI had funded like about 20 different organizations. We were able to remove the governor from the process, from the life of parole process. And what made that so successful is one organization was strictly in charge of the media. That's all you did. All you did was get videos of people, collect people's stories. That's all you did. The other persons might have been in charge of producing the op-eds. Another organization might have been in charge of just transportation. Get our people to Annapolis. That's what you do. You get them lunches. Your budget is just for this. So the most effective collaboration in this work is going to be, one, identify what you're really good at and do that thing. And you link up with people like Veronica, who does everything well. But you link up with those organizations that understand it's only one slice of the pie. They don't want to spend no money on this stuff. It's really hard to get them to spend money on this work. And we are even more in a situation where the funding is limited. So if we come together again, it's easier for 5 organizations to ask for $2 million to get this work done than it is for one to promise the fund of the world and do all these things. So I think that the collaboration in that way is very effective. I've seen it. We got that bald head Hogan up out of there. Excuse me. All right, no political stuff, guys. No political stuff. But anywho, we were able to get that bill passed in that way.
Yeah, just back to what you were saying, Veronica, correct? They're, again, not cookie cutter, and understanding that we come with a variety of issues and tissues, right? One of the bills that we worked on this year at Life After Release was fair taxation. So that we have tax issues when we come home, y'all, some of us, right? We have legal issues, we have childcare, we have custody issues, we have some serious legal issue, fines and fees and restitution. And it's not separate from reentry, it's actually a very much so part of reentry. And I think that part is kind of left out. So maybe when we're doing our surveys and we're talking to our people and we're talking not just about, okay, I know you need housing, but do you owe IRS? Do you were you audited while you on the inside like I was? So those are the type of questions. I mean, that's uncomfortable, right? Don't feel too good. But there's not that I was outside of reentry. I couldn't check no box, and I was a Prince George's County resident. So I stayed inside of prison 6 months longer because there was no MOU or there was no interstate compact or anything for me because I was a Prince George's County resident. So I had to sit in MCIW much longer because I was not a Baltimore or in the catchment area of Baltimore. So our Prince George's County residents who are inside of MCIW are actually at a far more disadvantage than some of our Baltimore natives and our Baltimore folks who have Baltimore residents. And so unless I lie and get myself into some more trouble and say, oh yeah, I have an addiction, or I have an addiction, or I have, or I live in Baltimore when I really don't, because I just want to get out of here. So we have to also think about some of those things too, and think outside of the norms of reentry so that we can actually start to identify some of the things for people like myself who came out with issues that you probably wouldn't even understand, right? So it's more than just some of the common things too.
Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Lady J, and I am a chaplain. And I chose to volunteer my services throughout the week to go into the prison. And I'm at MCIW every single Wednesday from 1 to 2:30, working with the women there. And I just want to piggyback on what the ladies have said. The women really, really need help. And I don't go in to pray. They know Dr. Lady J, I'm not coming to pray with you or anything like that. We're here to talk about your mental health and what got you here and how to help you to understand what you did to never do it again and to help you get ready to get back out into society. A lot of those women are afraid to come out. They are afraid. They cry in our group sessions. Sometimes I have about 20 or 25 women every week when I go there. They are crying because some of them are close to coming home and they have nowhere to go. They can't get back together with their children. They're thinking about their children. Some of their family members have passed away. They have nowhere to go. I talked to Monica, Ms. Gwen last week, and I said, we have to find a place for these women, because what the women have said to me is, Dr. Lady J, if we can't find a place to come out to, we're going to end up coming back in here. We're going to reoffend. And so, you know, it's when they're up there talking, please listen to them, because this is so real. I'm actually on the tier with them every Wednesday, and we do some deep conversations, and I'm thankful that they're starting to grow and they're starting to learn and they're starting to feel better. But the fear is coming home and all of the things that they talked about, because up until now, nobody has really come in and said, you know what, this is what you need to do when you go out, and this is what you need to do. So I'm coming in now and I'm saying, okay, this is what's going on out here. This is the real deal. And so they're beginning to understand. So if you can help in any way, and Monica, you know, I definitely want to get with you, but if you can help in any way to assist with the women, they need clothing when they come out. We talked last week about where you're going to live at. What kind of job are you going to get? How are you going to get your paperwork? We talked about all those things, and they have assignments that they have to do. So it's really, really important. I'm also at Clifton T. Perkins with the women over there. And those women have a lot of mental issues. And so I'm dealing with them, and also at Baltimore County Detention Center with the younger women, working with them. And the younger women, unfortunately, a lot of them are in there because their moms are over at MCIW. And so it's a lot, you know, it's just a never ending circle. And this cycle continues, and we have to stop it. So whatever they're telling you, please listen. If you can help, please do so. And if y'all can help me, because I know I'm not the only chaplain in Baltimore, but I get a million calls.
Praise be. We have one more question, and then we have to move on because we have a time limit for how long we can take space at Care First.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Scott, and first of all, I'm a daughter of two parents who were incarcerated, and one actually died in prison. My mom is in long-term recovery. So when I originally came in today, it was all about my business. How can I talk about my business? And our team is here. But as I grounded myself in this seat, I revisited a lot of the historical harm that came upon me as a child of navigating the process of my mother's recovery, the death of my father behind the walls, and what it looked like generational wise for myself and my grandparents who took care of me. I was not part of a justice system. I wasn't removed from care, but when my mother came home, there was nothing available to her. She's still navigating her recovery now, 20 years later, still trying to get it. How do I use my phone? Thank you for lifting that up, sister, okay? Still using the Android because they're afraid to move to anything else. You know, I have opportunity to witness people on the panel. I know of you. You know, I've heard of you if I have not met you. You know, so I think about what can we do, not just for the children who are under age of 18. When my mother came home, I was over the age of 21. And when she came home, I had to relive the experience of navigating the process of parenting with my mother. So you talk about servicing for people who are incarcerated. What about us? Those of us who are in the community, who embrace our loved ones when they come home. What do we need in order to be successful for you? My mother had to move down the street from me. It broke my heart. She went into a recovery house, but that's what she needed. At the same time, we had nothing available for us. My parents, my grandparents were uneducated about recovery. They had to show up at her meetings in order to understand, why do you have to be selfish? So my acts, and you talked about the 5 organizations,
I'm one of the 5 that can help. We have opportunity through funding from the Opioid Restitution Fund. I would be glad to create a toolkit with you to support families for the reintegration of their loved ones returning home. We offer 24-hour peer support, so that's why I was here originally. But I understand that God had a purpose for me that was different from that, sitting in this seat. So my plan was 20 minutes and out, still sitting here. And I'm grateful that I did.
Amen.
Delighted to meet each and every one of you. Thank you, Care First, and thank you for the opportunity.
Tell them about your program. You forgot about to tell them about your program. Come on.
Well, I was making it all about me. I'm just being honest. So my name is Tiffany Scott. I run the Maryland Peer Advisory Council. We are an advocacy program, and we train individuals who have navigated the process of recovery. We also go behind the walls and we proctor the state exam for individuals getting credentialed for certification for peer support. Many of them are in this room. Some of the things that we do right now, we have a peer team that's in this room today. There are individuals with lived experience. They're able to meet you where you are, home, community, hospital, at the jail, returning from prison, whatever it is to get you where you need to go. So, and that also includes transportation and navigation for your health and entitlements, such as your ID, your social security card, because doing those things alone is very hard. You know, we have a partnership with AmeriCorps where we have a digital navigator, and that person helps you through your technology, because that's scary, you know, to learn how to get on a computer for the very first time, even power it on. You can't go to the dentist or the doctor without getting on the computer, let alone applying for your food stamps. And guess what? We talk about home ownership, not housing, home ownership. So if you're interested in getting connected with us, please connect with us after the talk.
I'm
Thank you so much.
definitely interested. I appreciate you. And I just wanted to elevate the conversation just a little bit more. About 10 or 15 years ago, a lot of practitioners was using the term of the holistic approach to the family. You don't hear that term anymore. Sometimes in this work, terms get to be popular. The holistic approach to families, then once that fade out, then we with the trauma. Once that fade out, then some other fad will come around, and prayerfully God will lead us in the right direction to finally get this thing right. But I can appreciate that because my mother used drugs. My father used drugs. My aunt, uncle, cousin, neighbor, name it. And again, children are watching. And what people don't understand is how that stuff is impacting children. The approach that the mother herself might not be able to come out of her condition because of her guilt and her hurt, because she let her 12-year-old baby get raped by a man that was feeding her drugs and she couldn't get away from it. She's fighting and she's struggling. So to think of this thing in a holistic way, our community is a whole cell, there's a whole nucleus. This is our community, our teachers, everybody that's in this community is impacted. When somebody breaking somebody's car because they're getting high, they be like, damn, that's $500. That person might not have that. So we really can elevate the conversation, like Ms. Scott said, by thinking about the holistic approach and actually really treating, not using it as a slang or this new term, but actually looking at generations of that thing, like over the lifespan. I used to work for Recreation and Parks here, and I always was so happy to have that job because it's the only city agency that serviced the individual through their entire lifespan. From when they're a child, they go to the recreation center. And as they get older over in Patterson Park, they have senior programs and they have senior programs. And I've always pointed that out to the people I work for so they can keep me employed. But I always let them know, hey, I'm a smart gal. But I also understood that over the lifespan is what we should look at. My grandmother took care of my aunt's 5 children. They would have went in foster care because she could not stop getting high. And my grandmother, she couldn't get Medicaid for them because she never wanted to fully take the children. She was praying that one day that my aunt would get herself clean. So she only had temporary custody. And all of the things that my grandmother had to go through when one of the kids acted up in school, they was like, well, we need to see the parent. When she had to take one of the kids to the hospital, the parent wasn't available. So just put that on your mind to think about this work also holistically. And how do we address the children, the grandmothers, and everybody that's impacted by it? The incarceration is killing our community. I mean, it is killing us. And we gotta get to the other side. As my grandmother would say, we gotta go on to the campground, amen?
Okay, thank you so much. I want to just take a moment to thank everybody, thank all of you for participating in this panel. Thank you all for these questions and this information that is shared. This has been fantastic. As we look and change what our perception is of the face of reentry so that we can do things such as understanding that everybody who's returning to the community didn't have a drug problem and that they need housing and they need support the same way as people who are returning with certain challenges. So as we have these conversations, we gotta connect with one another, figure out how we can get this panel inside so that this information is being directly given to those who are getting ready to return, and really keep expanding this conversation and building this community. Now we're gonna take some time to hear from the Director of Legislative Affairs at the Office of the Public Defender, who is gonna share with you some updates on some progress and some things that we are trying to focus on, because it's not just, as we know, the laws that exist, it's figuring out how we're gonna change some of these laws to really make them reflective of the needs of the people. So Ms. Elizabeth Hilliard here.
Hi, good evening. We have just a few moments for the update, so I'm going to go quickly, but make sure you're signed in, leave your email, we'll send you the slides. I'm Elizabeth Hilliard, I'm the Director of Government Relations, and before I ran our policy division, I had the honor of working in post-conviction. So I have been in MCIW, I have represented the women in our system, and it is truly astonishing how they often get left out of the conversation, despite comprising the most quickly growing population of individuals who are being incarcerated. So I am just so grateful to be part of the conversation today, and thank you all for sharing your stories and sharing your information. And with that, I'm going to go right into some of the important changes that happened this year and what is coming up next. So this year, we passed the Expungement Reform Act, which did two important things. The first thing that it did is expand the list of crimes that are eligible for expungement to include credit card theft and driving without a license. I'm going to say that again because until this goes into effect October 1st, 2025, driving without a license was not expungible. That's wild, right? It is such a barrier to everything you all are talking about: housing, jobs, education, loans. And then the other thing that it did is it addresses the Abishak case, which now allows for us to basically, when Abishak was issued, individuals who had violated their probation were not eligible for expungement anymore. And that could be a technical violation. That could be closed out unsatisfactorily, right? And now, thanks to this law, and I did give a little shout out to Governor Moore's office because he is the one who introduced the bill this year. Individuals who will have their cases individually analyzed based on a judge's determination of success at probation, parole, or mandatory supervision. Another big piece of reform that passed this year are reform to our medical and geriatric parole systems. So I'm not going to go into the details. Like I said, we'll send these slides around, but the medical parole system and the geriatric parole system have both expanded, and they have both been changed. You can go ahead and go to the geriatric slide as well. They've both been changed to be more accessible, easier to understand, and to apply to a wider group of people. So please feel free to reach out to me. My information will be in the slide for more information, and especially share with your communities, your networks, so that they know to ask and to find out about the parole accessibility. The last, and we have a one-pager on this, and this is a huge win for this year. The Second Look Act finally passed. And I am certainly not going to stand up here and take credit, because who really made this happen were Delegate Pasteur, Senator Sidnor, and the impacted voices of the people who came and would not leave Annapolis until this law was passed. That is who made this law happen. And we have one-pagers on it out there. We are so glad about it. But again, I'm really short on time, so I'm not going to go into any of the details. And then just a quick update on things that we are looking forward to in 2026. And I'm going to note we have Delegate Simmons here. We have Delegate Crutchfield here, who actually has sponsored, I think, 3 of these bills at least. And it's so important to have you all here and hear these stories so you know what our laws need. And the Monica Cooper Pre-Release Act, Miss Cooper can tell you all about that. We also are looking to end the practice of children being charged as adults, create safer traffic stops for all. And then OPD actually has an entire unit dedicated to parental defense and helping reform family policing. And if you have questions about any of those, also feel free to come to me. Again, this will be available by email, and my information will be on there. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks to everyone for coming, but I want to introduce someone who has been pivotal in the Public Defender's Office regarding reentry, the reentry work. It's Shanice Anderson, who's going to give closing remarks. Shanice has received awards for her work. She wrote the first grant for the Public Defender's Office. She wrote it up to say, this is what I want to do, this is my passion. And her college, Bowie State University, recognized her for all that work as a change maker. But she also, recently, Shanice is a little modest, but she got special recognition from the mayor of Baltimore City for her work, her contribution to the Reentry Council in Baltimore City. I think she's on about 50 different committees, but she's on several county reentry programs. Shanice is a whirlwind, but she is passionate about reentry and the programs that she helps. How many of you in this room have been impacted by Shanice? Shanice is people. Here's Shanice to close us out.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for that introduction, Benita. I am so honored to be here with you guys. So I'm going to be very brief, right? In defense of us starting over, reducing barriers to women's reentry. What an inspiring and powerful discussion we've witnessed today. We've heard stories not just of struggle, but of strength. We've discussed barriers, but also breakthroughs. And we've been reminded that second chances aren't just a gift, but they're a right that everyone deserves when they're ready to rebuild. Panelists, thank you for your honesty, your courage, and your wisdom. You've reminded us that justice-involved individuals are not statistics. They're people. People who have dreams, who can change, who deserve opportunities to grow, to contribute, and to heal. You continue to prove this daily in the courtroom, in Annapolis, in the community, as you provide services and advocate for those that have secured freedom and for those that have been left behind. Second chances change lives, but they also change communities. When we invest in people, we invest in safer neighborhoods, stronger families, and better futures for everyone. So the question now is not just what we've heard today, but what we'll do with it. Let's leave here committed to challenging stigma, to opening doors, to advocating for the policies, to extending grace. Because everyone deserves to be seen for who they are today, not who they were yesterday. When women return home from incarceration, they don't just re-enter communities, They rebuild them. With the right support and opportunity, their comeback becomes a catalyst for healing families, strengthening neighborhoods, and proving that redemption is real. Reentry isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new legacy. OPD, DPSCS, DPP, community legal teams, and social support providers, thank you for your partnership. You guys are doing wonderful things. Now, let's revolutionize reentry. When grants and funds are stricken, or we are asked to eliminate words to retain funding that helps those that are coming home, we dig in, we communicate, we collaborate, because we are the majority and we have much work to do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with an open heart and for helping to create a world where second chances aren't the exception, they're the expectation. Let's keep the work up.
Everyone, that concludes our program, but please follow the Office of the Public Defender. We're on Instagram, Maryland_OPD. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. Please follow us for more information and other future programs. Have a good night and get home safely.
Thank you.